On today's episode of Locked On 76ers, the Hawks continue to help the Philadelphia 76ers. They defeated the Boston Celtics in game 5, on the road on Tuesday night, and the Sixers get an extra day of rest. What does that mean? We'll break it all down right here. Why it's good, maybe bad. Locked On 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Welcome. You are Locked On 76ers. I'm Devon Givens from 97.5 The Fanatic Radio in Philadelphia, alongside my co-host and partner as always, Keith Pompey, Sixers beat writer for TheInquirer.com. What's happening, Keith?
What's good, bro? You good?
I'm good, man. Look, Boston is not doing too good. But listen, they still have a 3-2 lead in the series, but they've dropped the last two, and they did so last night, Keith, without DeJounte Murray playing for the Atlanta Hawks. Big win for the Hawks. We'll get into it next, what it means for the Sixers. Thanks for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day. And remember, Locked On 76ers is free and available on all platforms, including right here on YouTube at Locked On 76ers. Keith, a big come-from-behind win last night for the Atlanta Hawks. They defeat the Boston Celtics in game number 5 on the road in Boston, where we, like many, felt like they were going to close that series out, man, but not the case as the Hawks defeat the Boston Celtics, and that changes things for the Sixers. So we'll get into what it changes for the Sixers in terms of the schedule. We need to talk about, again, how this may affect them on the floor with the extended rest. And what does that also mean of how the outlook is? Different team, the Hawks are than the Sixers, but does that maybe open your eyes a little bit of the possibility of changing how you feel about the Sixers taking on the Atlanta Hawks after these two wins by the Hawks now in 2 consecutive games? So Keith, let's start there with the how things played out and what it does as far as the schedule goes. Right away, we look at the schedule. We were anticipating a win from Boston on Tuesday night in game 5. Game 1 of the next round, the semifinal matchup between the Sixers and the Celtics would begin on Saturday. We don't know the time, but it would have been on Saturday. Now, any game 6 or 7, we were also told after the Sixers beat Brooklyn on Saturday was going to be starting the second round on a Monday or Tuesday. And in this case, it looks like it's going to be a Monday because game
It's
16,
definitely a Monday.
definitely a Monday. Okay.
Yeah.
Then now it's definitely a Monday after they extended to game 6 and 7. So, number one, how do you feel? I mean, you watched the game. You saw it. I had my eye on it, watching the game as best as I could while I was doing the show. But they had comeback victory, all of that stuff. How surprised are you that the Hawks beat the Celtics without DeJounte Murray? And number two, the schedule, this is now going to be at least a pretty crazy one with the days going basically a day off in between every game.
You know what? I am shocked that they beat them. I mean, I thought the Boston having their championship DNA, and you looked at how good they were playing in the first half, that they would just step it up a little bit. And then they let Trae just take over. I mean, he honestly took over. Some of his shots, I'm like, wow, like that's a bad shot, but it went in. You're like, whoa, great shot. But you know what? I think it benefits the Sixers greatly. I mean, you look at it, now Joel Embiid is going to go from having 9 days off to 11 days off.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who knows? He might even be able to practice a little bit, get a couple days in. So I think it really benefits them. And then you look at the Celtics, they're a team that will want to, if they get it, they're a team that will want to rest up. And now they can't. So it's like, you look at it and you're saying to yourself, this is extremely beneficial for the Sixers, more so than Boston. Boston's probably going to be tired. They're going to be in the dog fight, and the Sixers are going to be well rested. When you look at a team like the Sixers, with James Harden. Now we're taking Joel Embiid out of the equation, but James Harden, older player, 33, PJ Tucker, 37. I think it benefits the Sixers big time.
And it's interesting because when you talk about that, it can go both ways, Keith. We've seen it a lot in professional sports where too much rest can go against you. And in this case, we saw, let's say on Tuesday when we were at practice, DeAnthony Melton was sitting there speaking to the media, and he was talking about, again, just like Keith, remember at the end of the season when they played Atlanta and Boston, in Brooklyn, and those guys had that full week off after even taking those 2 games off on that Friday and Sunday? They were ramping to get back. They couldn't wait to get back on the floor. And while it worked out for them in game 1, they blew out Brooklyn and they didn't seem to have, any sluggishness out there while they were on the floor. Sometimes you look at these situations and it can go against you. But in this case, for Joel Embiid and that injury that he's nursing right now for the team, it is a good thing. It's simply a good thing for this basketball team right now that the Hawks keep extending it. And the longer they extend it, the longer the days go, and either one of them has to play in a game 7, they're going to have to jump back on the floor on that Monday against the Sixers to start off round number 2. And while it could benefit them by playing right after a series and jumping right into a new one, basically playing a regular schedule of a basketball game, now you're going to be looking at also saying, are they tired? And how that could also benefit the Sixers too.
Yeah, I don't see any way. I can understand like the Sixers, some of the guys from the Sixers team talking about I'm a little rusty. But at the end of the day, we did a podcast yesterday. I don't think the Sixers could beat the Boston Celtics without Joel Embiid. A healthy Joel Embiid, a rested Joel Embiid. So they can and I hate to say this, but Joel Embiid is the most important player on the team. You want him to be healthy as opposed to a role player being being fresh. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, no offense, bro, but like Joel's the top of the food chain. And Joel, like if y'all want to get out of the second round, you gotta let everything align for Joel, not for you, for Joel. And I'm not taking a shot at any of the players. It's just how it is, man. They're not going to win without the big fella. And James Harden, we're still talking about he's saying that he's playing, he's healthy, but he has that Achilles situation too that he's been dealing with. So all the rest that they can get, being the 2 best players on the team, is going to just make the team a whole lot better.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And listen, this is as long as this thing continues to go on and it benefits the Philadelphia 76ers for their opportunity to play. And if the Hawks win this series, Keith, I think we're going to need to start reminding people that game 1 that we keep talking about would be in Philadelphia on May 1st for game 1 against the Atlanta Hawks, the 7th seed in the Eastern Conference. All right, man, when we come back, we got to jump into a few other things in regards to this one. And has now things opened up a little bit with the Sixers, where there's some vulnerability there with the Boston Celtics. Does that matter based on what you're seeing against another team in the Atlanta Hawks? Well, this is what scouting is for, to figure things out. Does that step up and come into play for the Sixers if the Celtics still win this series? We'll tap into that next, and that will be right here on Locked On 76ers. But first, I got to tell you, you didn't expect to have, I know Atlanta, you didn't expect to have a game 6 in Atlanta for your team to have a right to, again, extend the series a little further. You're going to have to get some last-minute tickets. So here's what you do, right? We'll get into all of that with the tickets there a little bit later. You got to go to Ultimate Pro Basketball GM, though. Maybe you want to add now John Collins to your team. Maybe you want to add Sadiq Bey to your squad because of what just took place, and you do that at Ultimate Pro Basketball GM as you put together your squad with Ultimate Pro Basketball GM, the coolest game I've played in a long time. I've always thought I could be a great NBA GM. As it turns out, it's not all that easy. But if you've had the same thought and have fantasized about managing your own squad, go and download Ultimate Pro Basketball GM right now. The game allows you to manage every strategic aspect of a franchise, playing through seasons and leading your franchise and fans to glory as you build a historic dynasty. In the simulation, you're responsible for. Here's what you do: hire the right coaches and assistants, dealing with the challenging personalities of players and coaches, trading and training players, making draft picks, navigating the franchise through free agency and the draft, all the ups and downs, all the moves during multiple seasons. And all of this in a challenging and realistic game world. Ultimate Pro Basketball GM is completely free and playable offline. Play on the go as you want and when you want to. After a game like that last night with Atlanta and Boston, I'm looking to see if I can tweak my team a little bit and maybe make some moves. So what I have to do is go in there, find some players I'm going to want to throw in there and see what happens. Maybe DeAndre Hunter might add him to my team, to be perfectly honest with you. And you, as a Locked On 76ers listener, can get a 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo Locked On in the game store. That's you. So make sure you check it out. To download the game, just visit probasketballgm.com, scan the code, or look it up on the app stores. That's probasketballgm.com, Ultimate Basketball GM. Start your dynasty today. Well, I also have to tell you about another thing here, and that is, as you get ready to sit down and watch your games and all that, you want to make sure you have things all situated around the house. So, groceries, school shopping, getting a little something for yourself. Well, listen, here's what you do. You know you already are doing those things, so why not get cash back for it with Ibotta? You want to pay for some tickets for some games? You want to take some vacations in the summer? Watching your closet grow after purchasing all of those things this season and those latest trends. Well, how about also watching your cash back growing with each purchase? So again, you can look good on those trips with things that you bought for your closet, and you can do that with Ibotta. You can earn cash back on every shopping trip. Ibotta gives you cash back on hundreds of grocery items, from produce to personal care to pantry goods. Either link your loyalty account or upload your receipt after you shop and get your cash back. It's that easy. Ibotta gives you real cash back, not points. Other apps give you points that don't amount to much. With Ibotta, you get real cash back that you can cash out to your bank account, PayPal, or gift cards. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta by using the code LOCKED when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free app, the Ibotta free app, and use code LOCKED. That's Ibotta, IBOTTA, in the Google Play or App Store, and use code LOCKED. Thanks for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day. Every dayers. Tomorrow on the show, we'll talk a little bit more about what we found out at practice and give you a little update on the team and Joel Embiid, if at all possible. All right, Keith, man, listen. Now that the Sixers with Joel Embiid, I'm just going to go there with you first. With Joel Embiid potentially being back in the lineup, may not be 100% healthy, but with the Hawks extending the series the way that they are, do you see something in there maybe that is beneficial for the Sixers? Also, not just the rest part, but the fact that the coaches, the staff, they can look at some things where maybe there are some little chinks in the armor for the Boston Celtics that could help the Sixers out should they face the Celtics in the next series that may not have been there before.
I mean, yeah, I think, wow, like, I think if you get Maxey in some space, or you spread the floor for him a little bit, maybe you could get him going. I'm not saying he's Trae Young. I'm not saying that. But it just, if he could play fast and he could do certain things. The thing is, like, with Boston, sometimes, like, I don't know, like, they look a little bit too deep for me. And that maybe that sounds crazy, but, like, he was bringing dudes in and out in the fourth quarter. You're like, yo, you gonna stick with your five to close out, or what?
Joe
Like,
Mazzulla, you talking about?
yeah,
Yeah.
like a situational thing. Like, I understand it. Sometimes you're like, okay, we're gonna play offense, defense, but sometimes, like, yo, why you got this dude in? Or how come such and such isn't in? You know what I mean? It was just like he had too many tools. Like, he didn't know, should I use a wrench or should I use some pliers? Like, do I need a screwdriver? Like, yo, like, what you doing, bro?
But see, Keith, that's what I'm talking about. He is a rookie head coach still. You know how we talk about it all the time. To be fair, when we talk about the Sixers and we say all their past success in the regular season, but as you always say, Show me in the playoffs. Joe Mazzulla is a first-time head coach in the playoffs now. All the success that he had.
Yeah.
He's a first-time playoff head coach. He's got to think on his feet a little quicker in these situations where he's trying to find those tools or those little wrenches and lug nuts that he needs to do all the stuff. And right now, as you're saying it, it may not be working.
Yeah, we'll
He's
see.
doing
I
too much.
mean, yeah,
Maybe he's
yeah.
doing too much.
I mean, yeah, they doing too much. It's like it's weird because I mean, I still think they're a bad matchup for the Sixers, but if I'm the best thing is not just the coaches, but the players watching and seeing how this team is attacking them. And I think they got the utmost confidence just because of what they did to Atlanta. You know what I mean? And I know it's like apples, so you can't really compare it. You know what I mean? Just different teams, different matchups. But there were certain things like I didn't like late game. I mean, I felt like the one when Trae Young got when the guy got the charge on Trae, not the charge, but the foul, the blocking foul, I felt like, oh, that could have went either way. You know what I
I did
mean?
see that, and I was a
Yeah,
little skeptical. I was wondering what happened there. Yeah.
yeah. And I also felt like their late game, like they were missing a lot of shots, Boston. Like and so was Atlanta for a little bit. So I just felt like Atlanta could have put them away, but they didn't. You know what I mean? At a point. But I don't know. I saw some chinks in the armor. Yeah, I can't lie and say I didn't. I saw some.
We don't want you to lie. We want all the truth, Keith. That's all we want, man. That's all we want. And look, man, again, as we keep talking about it, we've been saying it. This is what happens when you have a young coach. Now, look, Ime Udoka figured it out last year, and it's just the first round. They can still win this game in 6, but you have to believe that the coaching staff of the Sixers are looking at this and saying, all right, find out what's going on, what's working for Atlanta, and how they got themselves in these last 2 games back in here. As you said, Sixers a bad matchup for the Atlanta Hawks. I mean, for the Boston Celtics. I would have probably told you the same thing for the Atlanta Hawks at the start of this series. And right now it's 3-2, extended to a game 6 on Thursday. That's going to be crazy in Atlanta. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. But as we do this, man, final segment on the other side, we'll come back. We'll get into a little bit more with the Sixers and how all this impacts them now that the Hawks have extended the series. We'll do that final segment on this Wednesday. Locked on 76ers. And let me tell you now about how to get those tickets for that game 7. You got to get the Game Time app, folks. Buying tickets to your favorite events should not be stressful. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all sports, music, comedy, and theater that's near you. Game Time is tremendous with killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee. You can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for all the fun that you'll have. Again, last-minute ticket, Game 6 right there for Boston and Atlanta on Thursday. So what do? What are some things that I like about Game Time and the experience? Well, here are a few. Flash deals and last-minute tickets. Just talked about that. Easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. Images of the seats and the views in the building and lowest price guaranteed, even cancellation protection, job loss protection, etc. It's the fastest growing ticketing app in the country for a reason. Get images of your seats, as I mentioned, before you buy, so you know exactly where you're going to be, what to expect when you arrive. Buy tickets in a matter of seconds, 2 taps, and you're all set. Tickets are sent directly to your phone, so you never have to dig through your email. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code Locked On NBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
D, what I want to talk to people is about the player of the week. And basically, Sixers didn't really play yet. So I'm going to give it back. I'm still giving it to Tobias Harris. He gets it like,
Hey, man, go to another team. Well, one of the games that we just saw.
One of the game that we just saw, you got to give it to Trae.
There
You
you
got to
go.
give it to Ice Trae. If you're going to give it to him, you got to give it to him. The dude was phenomenal last night. Played well. And it's weird. I'm not really a big Trae Young fan. I mean, I like him, but it's like whenever I think of him, unfortunately, I think of the drama, man. I think of like, the off the court stuff, and it stands in the way a little bit. But I'll tell you what, he hit some big shots yesterday. He played extremely well. And when you look at him, you say, you know what? He's the Nissan player of the week, right? You know what I mean? Just like the Nissan Aria car, right? Why? Because he's brilliantly fierce. He's fiercely elegant. He's stunningly powerful. He's elegantly powerful. He can do it all, just like that car. The 2023 Nissan Aria packs pin in your seat power and premium intelligence on the EV. The all-new Nissan Aria all-electric 2023 car is the EV for people who love to drive, right? So when we think of this guy, he drove Boston nuts last night. He was doing a lot of other things. So look,
He did.
he's he's the player of the week.
Yeah, man. Amazing. Amazing. All right, man. Final segment for us here as we wrap things up here on this Wednesday, as we wait once again for the Sixers to find out who their opponent is. And we will now have to wait to Thursday, find out if there's going to be a game 7. That would be on what, Saturday? Wow, that would be crazy. Saturday game between those squads. So with it here, man, now that we look at things and we get ready for this whole time off. You know what, Keith? I guess I just really wanted to talk to you about this matchup now. With how do you feel about specifically Doc Rivers having his team ready to go in a spot like this, as you look at the time off and having that other having to wait and figure out and adjust. He's always having those guys prepared, but now he has to continue to do it on the fly and just keep pushing things back and all of that. As a championship coach that he was years ago with Boston, getting there twice, winning once. How do you feel about what he has now for this team as they continue to wait?
I mean, I think it's good because, like, I mean, we're talking about a guy like Jalen McDaniels. I mean, again, like he played against Brooklyn, and I get that, and he came here. But the more practice time you can get with these type of guys,
Hmm.
the better off it's going to be. I mean, before you go in there, I think that right about now, you want to be as meticulous and go over everything as you can, and it'll work out. Because let's face it, I mean, if they don't win, we got to ask questions. I mean, soon. How long is James Harden going to be here? Is Jalen going to resign here? Are they going to resign him? B-ball Paul, is he going to be here? Tobias, is he on his way out? There's a lot of things. Now, typically, if you go deep in the playoffs and if you win it or if you win a championship, then some people like consider like, well, maybe we need to run this thing back. Guys get that chip or whatever. But if they go out in the second round, Doc might even be gone. The coaches may be gone.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
so all this time that they're getting is only beneficial to them. And it kind of sort of like, messes things up for Boston. Not only because when you look at it right now, let's just say if the Miami Heat beat Milwaukee, which it looks like they probably will, unless Milwaukee does some miraculous stuff. And then the Sixers are extremely prepared. And Embiid gets healthy. I mean, all that stuff they were saying in the preseason about this is our year, then next thing you know, they could possibly make it happen because everything is aligning towards them,
Hmm.
So, I think right now, this is what Doc is doing. He's going over stuff, he's studying as much as he can and trying to get these guys prepared, for what they're about to go through.
How much does it also help to have veterans on this team too? uh, where obviously the PJ Tucker part, the James Harden, even Joel Embiid. I mean, all of them. You only have a few young players to really look at and try to give guidance to in terms of Maxi or McDaniel's, Reed. that are right now in the rotation where it's like, hey, guys, we just got to stay ready. We're sitting here. We did our job. We swept the team in front of us. We have to make sure that we stay ready for what comes to us in game one, whether it's against the Celtics in Boston on Monday or, Keith, best case scenario, the Sixers hosting the Atlanta Hawks on that Monday here in Philadelphia.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean,
They're all vets.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
I mean, that's definitely huge, especially when you, I mean, and especially with the practice time,
Right.
because that's the thing where they touched me. Like it was funny. Like I didn't hear what was being said, but you could tell like guys were vocal from the other side, like where the media room is. You couldn't decipher, but you could tell certain dudes were vocal, and all that is good. All that stuff is good because you're bonding, you're forming a team gel. Like in today's NBA, teams don't practice, they don't do anything, but to have those veterans in those young guys' ears, it's great. I mean, it's great. I mean, I also think seeing Joel doing his rehab there, even though he didn't practice, was something good for them to see.
You're absolutely right.
You know what I mean? Because normally you go in there, man, you don't know where Joel is. He's like ghost. You're like, where Joel? He worked out before. Oh, okay. I guess we ain't talking to him today. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? My man is out of there. Like
Yeah.
so to see him out there, I felt like was good. So yeah, this is good for them. It's good
Yeah.
for them.
It is. And you're right, man. It is good to see that he's there. He's visible. He's in the weight room right there, getting his work done, over there stretching, doing his lunges and all that stuff, whatever he was doing. Even if he's doing the lunges on the off leg, he's still bending that leg. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? For
Mhm.
that. So that's some encouraging stuff there. And again, I think he'll be ready. Big shot by Trae Young last night to give the Hawks a 119-117 lead, and how they all just figured it all out, man. Just tremendous work. Tremendous work. Well, Keith, we got a lot to get to tomorrow. And again, we'll potentially do that based on what we hear at practice. More days off for those guys. Thanks for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day. Every day is tomorrow on the show. Talk about what we found out at practice. No games. So we'll talk about what we found out at practice, dive into a few more things, Sixers related, obviously, here on Locked On 76ers. And Keith, do you mind letting the good folks know where they can find us on this Wednesday?
Yeah, like wherever you get your podcast at, make sure you log on and get this podcast. When you download it, just go, you can download it anywhere, but when you go to our YouTube channel, make sure you click on the Liberty Bell. You do that, you become a new subscriber and you get notifications whenever we post podcasts. In addition to that, tonight, you got to do yourself a major favor. You got to follow my man D on the Divine Giving Show from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. on 97.5 FM. Do that. And if you haven't already done it, you got to follow my man Divine on Twitter. Divine G975. Divine G975. You can follow me on Twitter at Pompey on Sixers, and you can read my articles in the Philadelphia Inquirer, inquirer.com.
All right, people, have a great rest of your Wednesday. We'll talk to you on Thursday. Thanks for always hanging out with us, Keith. Talk to you later, man. Thanks.
Peace.